And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Omar94, who writes, Paramount's rebooting John Woo's Face Off from 1997. Thoughts? I know John loves Face Off and is okay with remakes and reboots, but I'm scratching my head and thinking, how many people out there are asking for this? I'm very mixed when it comes to remakes and reboots, only because I think some are unnecessary because it's not relevant, there's no market for it, or why bother because if it's not broke, don't fix it. Thanks and have a good day. And yes, as Omar just said, the reports have now come out that we are indeed getting Paramount is at least at this point exploring doing a face-off reboot. Now, the original movie, of course, starred Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, and is every bit as awesome as you've ever heard it is. Mm-hmm. Because I can eat a peach for hours, and if I let you suck my tongue, would you be grateful? It is one of the greatest fun, dumb one-liner action films, flying slow-motion doves, everything you can think is in this movie, and I absolutely adore it. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting about this right now is that they're saying that the writer of the film is actually going to be a guy by the name of, I would almost say Neil, but it's not. It's Oren Uziel. Oren Uziel is right now lined up to be the writer of the movie, of the reboot. Why that's interesting is because he's got a couple of interesting things coming up. Some pretty high profile things. One, he's been tagged by Warner Brothers to write a script for a Supergirl feature. So that's been going on. He is the writer of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We'll see how good or bad that is, but it's high profile. He's been tapped to do the screenplay for Pikachu 2, but in the realm of things he has done, he wrote 22 Jump Street. And I love 22 Jump Street. And if he can bring that sort of sensibility to a face-off, I think we're off to a good start. Now, he also wrote the screenplay for Cloverfield Paradox, which I am not all that big of a fan of, and that's fine, I suppose. But it's really interesting. And look, I'll tell you what, Omar, you're mentioning that, is it necessary? Number one, no film ever made in the history of cinema has ever been necessary. Let's just be clear about that. No movies are necessary. So let's be clear. And I'm good with reboots, but for something like Face Off, the concept, see, a lot of times reboots will get done because they want to take advantage of the IP and blah, 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 blah. And you might be able to make an argument right now, well, like how many people today know what Face Off is? Okay, maybe you can make that argument. But for me, the reason I like this idea is just because the basic premise of the movie is so good, I'd love to see somebody else take a shot at it. And I love the original. And no matter how good this new one is, it won't replace the original for me. But to see somebody else step up and take a shot at it, see two new stars today step in and fill those shoes by Travolta and Nicolas Cage, and to take that on, I think that sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. And again, my whole philosophy with reboots is, if it's good, yay, we have a new movie we can like and enjoy. And if it sucks, oh well, we've still got the original. There's no downside to me. I think this sounds great. I'm excited for it. And if they do greenlight this and say they are actually going to move forward and put it into production, I will be waiting on pins and needles to find out who they put into it. Because these are two big cheesy shoes to fill. And I'm excited. I don't care about what anybody else thinks. Anyway, Rob, you're hearing about this. What do you think about it?
First of all, like you, I love the original Face Off. When I was working as a script reader in the early 90s, I actually covered this script. They tried to make this script for
Wow.
it was a different script. I mean, it was about
just
organ
for a second,
trafficking.
Explain to people what script coverage is.
Well, when you work, I was actually working for Joel Silver's company, Silver Pictures, and they would send screenplays, and there was 2 on-staff readers. And what we would do is read every single script that came in and write what's called coverage. You'd write a little synopsis and then notes, and then you give it to the creative executives and the executives above us, and they would decide what scripts are interested. What scripts do interest the company? And
it would save them time so that they don't have to go through and read every single
Yes.
script. They can get the synopsis and the idea of it and whether or not, So you have a really important role to play.
It was a role play, and this was a movie they were very interested in making, but it was a very different movie. It was about organ trafficking, but the central idea was there. Werb, and I want to say Corollary, Mike Werb was one of the original writers, but you had to write coverage and beat sheets and all kinds of craziness. Well, that didn't happen at Silver Pictures. Then it got made with John Woo, and John Woo made Hard Target Target when he came to America, made Broken Arrow with John Travolta, and then finally made this. And this is the quintessential John Woo film for the American audience. I love this movie, and the whole crux of this film, John, I think you'll agree, is Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Yeah.
And when I heard this news yesterday, first of all, I'm like, really? I mean, movies also are a product of their time. And the 90s action film, I mean, this was peak 90s action movie.
Absolutely.
It was high concept, and you have these two actors, and I'm thinking, this movie lives and dies with whoever is in the central roles in this film. And I don't know who you'd put in. I don't know if there's actors that could do it, that could play each other. I don't know if we have the kind of actors, unless they're going to do a reconceptualization of the whole thing. Maybe it's going to be two women, female actresses, and then someone will get mad. Oh, it's some social justice warrior thing. But I'm like, I think two women in the lead role could be actually interesting, where you have two women playing each other. But I don't know who's going to. You need a director like John Woo. I mean, this is the kind of movie that was a perfect storm when it was made, because it was so insane on so many levels, and its insanity was managed quite well by John Woo. And like you pointed out, John Woo doves flying in slow motion. I mean, this movie is so bonkers and fun. I don't know if anyone's even capable of making this movie today.
I think there are, because you got to get somebody too that can embrace the cheesiness of it as well, like do that action kind of stuff. Like you look at a guy like, the two Deadpool, the two Deadpool or John Wick guys. I mean, the two John Wick guys,
right?
So
Yep.
David Leitch and stuff like that. I mean, somebody like that, and that doesn't have to be them specifically. Somebody like that. And I'm normally the type of guy
That's actually a really good call.
Yeah, because that could work, and you got to be able to embrace the cheesiness. I'm the type of guy that I always say, I don't care who you cast in something, just get somebody who's talented. Like I don't play the X actor and X role game, but I'll play it a little bit for this. Imagine a couple of different ways. I could see Jamie Foxx, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and I would lose my mind for that.
Okay,
What about the Ryans?
That's really good casting.
What about Reynolds and Gosling?
Yeah.
What about them?
Oh, you know what? I'm sold.
I mean, but then if you go into the actor, there's a couple. I mean, if you go into the actor side, I mean, there's a plethora of things there too. I just love this idea so much. I want to see another one.
and then there's like, is it Alejandro Nivola?
Yep.
Okay, he plays Pollux Troy. There's Castor and Nicolas Cage's brother's Pollux Troy. Who's going to play that role? Because I loved him in that role. I mean,
so I think there's a lot of possibilities. Anyway, Aaron, you're hearing about this. On the one hand, you could go the skeptical route and say, another reboot and something like that. But I don't know. I get excited about it. How are you feeling about it?
Well, yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's as you've already said, it's a really fun movie. People aren't going into this expecting it to be an Oscar contender. They're going in to see a lot of action, to see those fantastic one-liners. And I agree, if you have two actors that have some great chemistry together, then you have an opportunity to introduce an entirely new audience to this film. And also, with the technology that we have today, it'll be really interesting to see how that story is told and the new things, the new way that they're looking at it. I think it would be really exciting to see how they expand on that, on the technological aspect of it and the way that it's presented visually. I wouldn't mind seeing John Woo come back and direct it. I know that I love John Woo. I think he's a fantastic director. But I can see the problems of having him direct the second one as well. And I really want to see how they would incorporate a John Travolta and a Nicolas Cage cameo, because that obviously has to happen.
That would have to happen.
It would have to happen. But as I said on Twitter last night, I really want to see this with Rebel Wilson and Adam Devine. That's what I want to see.
Okay,
and I think that
now
given
you lost me.
given that Oren did, he has that 22 comedy aspect behind. I think that there's a way to do it. I'm just saying, why not go for broke? Just make it as ridiculous as possible.
You want to go as ridiculous as possible? What about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Terry Crews? There you go. There you go. There's
or
your
you know
movie.
what? Bring my beloved Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson together. You guys come together.
It's like
Feel like
marrying
it's
the
Israel and
Hatfields and
Palestine. We
McCoys.
want you guys to make up.
Actually, that could be really interesting, actually. I would see that movie.
All right, guys. Question here is, what do you guys think about the notion of them going back and remaking Face Off? I personally love the idea. I know not everybody will, but what do you guys think about it? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.